Hey everybody, Nick here from Nick's Taxes. Thanks so much for tuning in to another video. Today we're going to be talking about EI, what it looks like in the next couple years, if there's a chance maybe that it turns into a UBI, a Universal Basic Income. We're also going to look at the question, if you have mental health issues related to COVID-19 in this pandemic, do you qualify for EI? I'm also going to touch base quickly on what I'm going to be talking about in future videos, such as the new hiring program designed to get you off the Canada Recovery Benefits and into a job where you're earning employment income. So if this is of interest to you, please stick around. Also, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I make videos on personal tax, finance, investing, all things recovery benefits with a Canadian point of view for now. So if that's of interest, please subscribe and then also hit the thumbs up. Just shows me that you get value out of this video. Let me know in the comments below, do you think there should be more done to help people that are suffering from mental health issues related to the pandemic and these lockdowns? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think on the subject of mental health and COVID. But before we get into that, we've been talking a lot about the Universal Basic Income, the potential of Canada having one, and actually being the first country to implement it. We looked at the potential of maybe having this Canada Recovery Benefit continue and slowly evolve into a Universal Basic Income or a guaranteed minimum income for all Canadians. And today we're going to look at the potential maybe of employment insurance turning into something like UBI. There was an article released after the budget was announced in April talking about how Canada is going to have a 2-year review on EI, unemployment insurance. And they're going to use this time to look at some tech upgrades and look at what needs to be done to our employment insurance in an ever-changing economy here in Canada. Now, if you're unsure, EI stands for employment insurance. This insurance basically is your unemployment insurance. They switched it to employment insurance to sound a little bit better, but if you're without a job, if you've lost your job, you can apply for EI, and that will provide you with some income, some benefit income to kind of keep you above water while you look for a new job. When you're employed by an employer, or if you're self-employed, you pay into this program through your paychecks, or if you're self-employed, you make payments to employment insurance over time, typically at tax time. And so everyone who's employed is paying into this. So if you ever need it, you can take advantage of this benefit. In the budget that was released back in April, Canada has proposed that $648 million be invested over 7 years to fund long-term technical upgrades to the employment insurance system. The oldest portions actually right now rely on language from the 1960s, so they think there needs to be an upgrade, and I would have to agree. At the same time, the budget is also looking at setting aside $5 million over 2 years for a long-sought review of the EI program. Now, obviously, there's mixed reactions. Some people wanted this change to be a lot more immediate because this system has been so old and reflects, times back when things were a little bit different. But the employment minister, Carla Qualtrough, said that there is a need to first update the aging technological infrastructure before any changes to actual EI can take effect. She also said that she's going to review and focus on the thorny policy issues, with gig or self-employed workers being the thorniest of all. I don't know why she used that, but basically what we've seen with EI, especially over this pandemic, is EI kind of failed because so many people are involved in the gig economy where they're doing these side jobs. They're not technically fully employed, and therefore when they lose their jobs, don't qualify for EI. And so Canada had to step in with the CERB and now the CRB for those who didn't qualify, and they're realizing that so many people fit in this category, and so EI isn't as beneficial to all Canadians as it maybe should. So during this review, Canada is going to take into account the amount of gig and self-employed contract workers that we have in our economy and kind of see how that might make a difference in these new potential EI changes. Right now, obviously, you can see with how the economy is going, there's a lot of people that are just hired for contract or for gig work. You think of something like Uber drivers who just work their own schedule, make their money based on their schedule and their needs and wants. When they end up losing out because of the pandemic, they actually didn't qualify, most of them didn't qualify for EI and needed to go on this CRB program, something that didn't exist before the pandemic came into Canada. To show you just how big the gig economy is growing, there were about 1.7 million gig economy workers in 2016, and that was a 70% jump from 2006. So in 10 years, it jumped 70%. And I'm sure between 2016 and 2021, it's increased that much more, but I couldn't find the data on that one. So if anyone knows how many people work in the gig economy in Canada in 2020 or 2021, let us know in the comments below so we can see just how many people there are in this category and will be affected by this potential proposal. So where UBI comes into effect is that officials are starting to think about a complete overhaul to the income support systems in Canada. They're including the possibility of universal or means-tested delivery scheme to guarantee a minimum standard of living, quote unquote. So we could see, that happening because, last March and April, when we first had the influx of this pandemic, there was 3 million jobs that were threatened during this time, and it overwhelmed the EI system. And that's obviously when they had to create the emergency response benefit. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming years here, but let me know in the comments below what you think should be done to the current or potential new EI systems in place. But going on to what we have currently with EI, I alluded to the question at the beginning, if you have mental health issues, can you qualify for EI? Before we get into that, let's take a look at the mental health effects from this pandemic, and this is right from the Canada website. So Canada is reporting that actually 1 in 5 Canadians have screened positive for symptoms of either depression, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress disorder from COVID. They said that young adults aged 18 to 24 were most likely to report symptoms of depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and the prevalence of mental disorders are more than 4 times higher among those who experience feelings of loneliness or isolation as an impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And more than 40% of Canadians who reported difficulty meeting financial obligations or essential needs due to the COVID-19 pandemic screened positive for one of these 3 mental disorders. So obviously the pandemic has hit us in ways that aren't just financial, right? We see mental issues as well, family issues. And so there's a lot to factor in when you look at these lockdowns and this COVID-19 pandemic here in Canada. But the question I have is, can you go on EI for mental health related reasons during the pandemic? The answer is yes, but there's with a little bit of an asterisk. So workers with extreme mental health stress can apply for EI. And so they would be applying for the sickness benefit there. And so someone who's making this claim could only be eligible for the sickness benefits if their condition of mental health made it so that they were incapable of working. So the CRA says if you had a mental health issue that rendered them incapable of performing the duties that their employment required them to do or to seek suitable employment, they can apply for the sickness benefit through EI. Obviously, the government has put in place these temporary measures to facilitate access to EI during the pandemic, including a one-time EI eligibility requirement of only 120 insurable hours. There's also a minimum benefit rate of $500 per week, and these changes are in effect until September 25th, 2021. The EI sickness benefit can provide up to 15 weeks of income support for eligible people who are unable to work because of illness, injury, or quarantine, including the inability to work due to a mental illness. And on top of this, the requirement to submit a medical certificate has temporarily been waived for the EI sickness benefit until September 25th, 2021. And if you want more information, definitely go check out the Canada website regarding EI. So if you are struggling with mental health and you're finding yourself incapable of working because of it, you definitely have some help from the Canadian government there. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on is, while we have been talking about EI and a little bit about UBI and CRB, Canada's goal, and we saw it with the proposal, or not the proposal, the budget, is to get people back to work as soon as possible. And so they're going to be rolling out in early June a new Canada hiring program. It's a Canada Response Hiring Program, I believe, CRHP. And this is designed to help people get back into the workforce and start working again. So we're going to look at that in a next video. And so that'll give you the tools to help you understand what's going on. And I'll also provide you with some options there if you're looking at getting back into the workforce. So again, if you got value out of this video, I just ask that you give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm Nick from Nick's Taxes. Happy taxing.